Well, folks, just a bit ago here, I got some pretty crazy news that the government wants to break up Amazon, okay? Obviously, I'm an Amazon shareholder, so I want to kind of hear what they have to say here. I want to watch this video, kind of give you a gist of what's going on here. Then we'll react to this one here on the reaction channel, Dan Niles, in kind of his perspective. I want to share my perspective as a shareholder of the stock. Obviously, huge news. So appreciate everybody joining me. As always, new all-time high subscribers. Appreciate y'all being here.
News tonight, a new report out from Politico saying that the Federal Trade Commission is getting ready to finalize an antitrust lawsuit against Amazon, which could include breaking up the company. Again, that according to a new report out of Politico, out just moments ago. And we are joined now by Josh Cisco. He is the reporter who broke the story literally less than half an hour ago. Josh, we appreciate the hustle. Thanks for coming on the program. Tell us what you have learned.
So this is sort of a kind of a long-awaited case from the FTC and run by Lina Khan. I think we're going to see a lawsuit as soon as next month. And based on past statements of Chair Khan, we could see a breakup of at least part of the company focused on Amazon's retail business.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. There's been, to your point, sort of this speculation, some other reports weeks ago.
Now, right off the bat, he says with Amazon's retail business, okay, their e-commerce business. My thing is, okay, does this make any flip and flapjacking sense? Okay, let's just focus on Amazon's retail business. So once again, Amazon owns a lot of different businesses. They own AWS, they have a big advertising business, they have obviously their e-commerce business, they have Whole Foods, they have Twitch, they have a lot of different businesses. Let's just focus on the e-commerce. Does this make any sense? Let's run through this, okay? What are you going to break up? Amazon is a website in which they can sell their own products on or third-party products on, right? So what are you going to break them off? Their distribution network? No, that doesn't make sense because every other retailer has their own distribution network, so that doesn't make any sense. Or are you going to say, well, then you can't have companies advertise on your platform? No, that wouldn't make sense because retailers, like physical store retailers, companies advertise in them all the time and even pay for a certain space inside the stores. Or are they going to try to say, you know what, your products are showing up first on rankings, you can't do that? Well, guess what? In Walmart and all the other physical stores, okay, they give prominence to whatever products they want to give prominence to. And if that means their own brand or brands that are cutting them better deals or whatever, they do just that. So where are they going with this thing? If they're going to try to break apart the e-commerce business specifically, then to me, if they want to try to make an argument of you need to break AWS from the retail business because of XYZ's reason or something like that, at least we can kind of understand some of that. But to break apart just the e-commerce business, it doesn't make sense. Otherwise, you've got to break apart all the other competitors they compete with.
That the FTC was readying a possible lawsuit against Amazon. Lina Khan, who's the head of the FTC, wrote a now very famous legal paper, effectively calling for that when she was at Yale Law School. So Amazon's been on her radar since the time she was basically a legal student. That said, I believe, Josh, and again, this is all happening real time, I believe this is the first report that I've read, yours, which specifically mentions a breakup. And you cited a number of sources on this.
Yeah, I think that is one very real outcome. Just if you listen to her past statements about how she's very hesitant, and it's not just Chair Khan, it's Jonathan Cantor at the DOJ and other antitrust agencies and other jurisdictions. But they are very hesitant to accept what's sort of called behavioral remedies, where they limit what business practices the company can do, and they really want to implement. They're focused on implementing structural change. So I think.
Yeah, and I don't want to put you on the spot, Josh. Again, I glanced through the report. I'm not going to lie. Didn't read it that closely. Just didn't have time. If there was to be a request to break up the company, do we have any idea how any kind of a breakup might look? Would it be cloud over here, consumer over here, multiple things?
It's really tough to say. I think this case is going to be focused on the retail business. And so we would potentially be looking at sort of separating different lines of its retail business, maybe separating first like the sales that Amazon does directly versus third-party merchants on the site. That could be one option. That's an option that Amazon, I believe, has floated in the past to regulators. sort of stave off their concerns. But yeah, it's really, I think, too early to tell, and anything would have to play out in the courts over a number of years.
But again, the timing, we got to go, but the timing would be that this lawsuit could be filed within a month.
I would say that's very likely.
Yeah.
I mean, the timing on these things is always very squishy until it happens, but I think a month, they're really ramping up. There's been a flurry of activity, so we should see something really soon.
Wow.
So it's okay. So before we get to the Dan Niles video here and react to what he has to say in regards to this, he makes a case that it would be good if Amazon broke up. But in regards to this, let's think about this for a moment, right? Okay, so first off, Amazon is the third, if I recall, the third biggest position for me currently in the public account, right? So if I was to think about it from the level of importance for me, it's absolutely a very important stock, right? Is it something that if this stock goes down 10, 20%, is it going to take down the public account? Absolutely not. At the end of the day, Tesla and Meta dwarf the position. I mean, Meta is, a 4x the size position that Amazon is, and Tesla would be probably about 3x the size of Amazon. So public count is much more affected by those two stocks. So it can't really take me down. It's definitely going to be an overhang on the stock. There's no doubt about it. It's going to have some sort of negative effect. And so negative effect can play out two ways. One is it can pull the stock down over the next 6 months, 12 months. The second reason is it can hold back what could have been bigger potential gains for the next 6 to 12 months. So imagine a scenario where Amazon goes up. Let's say Amazon actually continues to go up over this next 6 months. Let's say it goes up 20%. If it wasn't for this, I can tell you the stock probably would have been up 2x that. Okay, and so there's two different ways this can kind of affect the stock overall. Okay, now let's go ahead and hear what Dan Niles has to say. He makes an argument that this would be better for shareholders like myself and anybody else that owns Amazon stock.
Niles on all of this, he is the Satori Fund founder and portfolio manager, was on to talk about Google and Microsoft, which we will get to. But listen, Dan, again, I have a law degree. I'm not a lawyer, but I can say this with conviction. If indeed the FTC files this lawsuit to Josh's story and his point and calls for a breakup, this would be arguably one of the largest antitrust cases in American history, probably larger than Microsoft 25 years ago with the browser and everything, and perhaps to the size and scope of Ma Bell, AT&T back in the day. What do you think?
Well, I mean, that's obviously true. I guess the question is, will it actually happen? They also have tried to block the acquisition between Microsoft and Activision, and we've seen that hasn't gone so well for them. So, there's what you want to do, and then there's what actually will get accomplished, and we'll have to wait and see.
That's a good point. Good point.
Let's take it from a market's perspective. And again, I know I'm putting you a little bit on the spot, Dan, so I apologize on that. First off, do you own Amazon?
Up until we saw the Azure numbers that Microsoft put out, we did, and we sold Amazon in the aftermarket. So, we like Amazon. I'm not concerned about this. I mean, this is going to be an overhang for a long period of time, just like it was with Microsoft and their antitrust suit.
So he sold out of Amazon after hours based upon Microsoft numbers. Microsoft stock, if I recall, is down quite substantially after hours because I don't think people were very happy with those numbers. So interesting. Okay, so interesting. Maybe he just thinks the whole cloud is weak right now or something like that. I'm not sure, but that's an interesting standpoint. An interesting timing as well, wouldn't you say?
I look at these companies and I go, do they have great businesses and do I want to own them? And yes, this will be floating around for a while, but as we've seen with, a lot of other things, it's not something that you want to be necessarily buying or selling the stock off of. If you want to buy it or sell it off of fundamentals and what you think of the retail business or Amazon Web Services, I get it, but this is not a reason I would use to sell the stock.
Yeah, and by the way, again, even if the lawsuit is filed, doesn't mean they will win. Lena Khan, the FTC chair, obviously has appears to have a little bit of bias against Amazon based on that law school paper. She hasn't won some other cases. Microsoft. I'm
sorry, but I got to come back to this timing. This is extremely questionable. Okay, think about this for a moment. The man says he sold out of his Amazon stake. And that was likely 1 to 2 hours before this news broke on CNBC. I mean, could be coincidence. That's just very, very questionable timing. And sometimes, you do got to wonder, do some of these Wall Streeters have, inside knowledge that something like this is going to drop? Because that timing is extremely strange.
Activision, things like that. That said, could you make again, just wild speculations, got breaking news, Dan, let's have some fun with it. Could you make the case that if they win, they sue, they win, Amazon's broken up, maybe, and the shareholders get half and half, could it be worth more apart?
Well, absolutely, because, right now you have a retail business that is losing money. That's being funded by Amazon Web Services and their advertising business. Well, if Amazon were to split those apart, let's say, it's not like Amazon's retail business would be valued at zero and the other businesses would have some value ascribed to them, right? So in a weird way, this could be the best thing for Amazon shareholders, in that the pieces could be worth more than what they are put together. I think for the consumer, funnily enough, it may not be great, because the reason we get our packages shipped, in hours in some cases and at such low prices is because they're putting all of these packages through the same logistics network. And if you start breaking that up, or you start throwing gears in the sand, it's just going to make prices go up for the consumer.
Yes, which would supposedly be the opposite of what the government wants. I thought we had, a battle against inflation here, like inflation's bad, right? So, what do I think about, would I be happy if Amazon got broken up? Do I think Amazon would be valued a lot more sum of the parts? Okay, so let me answer both those questions. The first one is, would Amazon be valued more if it was sum of the parts versus the whole thing? And then I'll answer, do I want it to be broken up? Because I think it would make a lot more money. So first, I will say this, okay? If Amazon was broken up, the sum of the parts would be worth more than the total company is right now. No doubt about that, in my personal opinion. So let's say you put the retail business as a separate thing, so that would be like Whole Foods. Let's say it was like Whole Foods and Amazon was like one side. And when I say Amazon, I'm talking about the e-commerce side. Let's say another business was a standalone AWS, and then let's say let's say they just sold off Twitch to somebody else. Kind of there, right? Because I don't know if Twitch really fits on AWS. I don't really think it fits in on the e-commerce side. Yeah, the sum of the parts would be worth more. Now, me personally, would I like that? I will say no. I like Amazon the way it is. I like the total parts all working together. I like how if one business is a little weaker, one business can hopefully pick up the slack. And so personally, as an Amazon shareholder, I would be disappointed if the company ever got broken apart. I don't really think there's a reason to do that. I think there's a much stronger case to be made that you can break apart Apple. Much stronger case. The case I could make about Apple being broken up is ridiculous. Much stronger than the case I could make about Amazon. But we do know Apple's usually the most owned stock by politicians in the U.S. government. So, they're in really, really good. So I don't know if they would ever even try to pursue breaking apart Apple. But I can just tell you, if I had to make a case for those two, I can make a lot better case about Apple being broken up than Amazon, but that is a story for another day, okay? Appreciate everybody joining me. As always, wanted to cover this for you guys. Much love. Thanks for being subscribed. New all-time high subscribers. Also, check out pinned comment down there. You get to get my investing checklist. Free access to that. I'll send it over to you. Much love, and have a great day.